Well, welcome back. The White House is confirming that China has had a spy base in Cuba since at least 2019. This after initially calling a Wall Street Journal report last week that reported China and Cuba reached this agreement in principle for Beijing to build a base on the island. Last week, the White House called it inaccurate. They lied right to the face of Fox News reporters, saying that they had no idea about any spy base. I spoke with former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe about it yesterday. Watch this.
The worse they treat us, the more the Biden administration goes groveling to them, taking the blame for it, backing up, backing down, apologizing, trying to get a meeting with the people who have aggrieved us. Why would they slow down when they keep getting away with bullying us, with spying on us?
You don't have the... in fact, Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, is expected to head to China next Sunday on the 18th. Joining me right now, Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow and author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War, Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. So after the White House initially lied about the spy base in Cuba, they're admitting now, quietly over the weekend, that in fact, yes, the CCP has been underway with this surveillance center in Cuba about 90 miles from the Florida coast, surveilling American citizens. Your thoughts?
Yes, well, they admitted to one base since at least 2019. But there's reporting that China's actually had three places. One is Lourdes, which is that Soviet listening post. Actually, it was, I think, the largest Soviet listening post outside of the Soviet Union. And there's two more, one at Call and the other at Santiago de Cuba. And I'd like to know if there is more than one. But clearly, as John Ratcliffe has said, the administration tried to deceive the American public to sugarcoat what China has been doing. It looks like President Biden believes that he's president of China instead of the United States.
So what do you think we should be doing in terms of pushing back? I mean, Politico is claiming that the Pentagon is freaking out about a potential war with China. They discuss the, quote, Ukraine drain on the U.S. defense stockpiles and how it's cutting into our deterrent against China. The author writing, quote, some U.S. intelligence and defense officials fear that Beijing understands the deficiency in American readiness all too well and could try to exploit it by attacking or blockading Taiwan in the coming years. Gordon, your thoughts?
Well, the American people should be freaking out that the Pentagon is freaking out only now. You know, we have known for quite some time that the trend lines were really disadvantageous to us. And now we have a Pentagon that is not prepared to fight China, to defend ourselves. And this has been true even before Ukraine. And it's not just a question of they having a larger Navy than ours. It's also a question that they have types of weapons that we don't have, and which right now we have no defenses for. So although we may have 11 aircraft carriers, those in many ways are not helpful and not useful in a fight against China because China has, for instance, cruise missiles. Some of them, we believe, are tipped with nuclear weapons. China denies it, but I believe that they do have them. So this has been a question of failure of the Pentagon and the failure of political administrations.
Well, it's also one failure after the next from the Biden administration on foreign policy. Let's face it, as soon as Joe Biden walked into the White House, first thing he does is cancel the China initiative. Then they waive sanctions on Putin's pipeline into Europe, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. At the same time, we're sending all of this money to Ukraine, but he's also now talking about sending $17 billion to Iran for hostage exchange. What do you think Iran's going to do with the money? They're going to build weapons to sell to Russia. So he says he's trying to support Ukraine, but he's sending money to Iran, which is going to make weapons, which is going to sell them to Russia. So whose side are we on here?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's not so much Iran making weapons, it's Iran buying weapons from North Korea and buying important defense-related materials from China. And administration in and administration out, we have known what's going on, and we have not taken sufficient moves to stop it. Here again, the American people should be outraged at what has been feeble policy on the part of presidents. And really, at this point, you know, we have Biden wanting to shovel more cash into Iran. I mean, Biden, I just don't understand what's going on. We have never seen such a rapid collapse of America's standing around the world. And it's not because that we're weak. It's because we have no political will and we have misguided policy. And we have an administration that looks, dare I say it, a little bit corrupt.
And looks quite compromised, Gordon, after all of the money the Biden family has taken in from communist China and other foreign nationals. And yet they're indicting Donald Trump on espionage charges.
Maria, I just don't know what to say. As Matt Whitaker, the acting attorney general in the Trump administration, said, this is a republic-ending move.
Terrible. Really, really sad situation to see the 2 tiers of justice and also the CCP's efforts. And we're just giving it to them. I mean, giving it to them, giving America. I mean, we'll see what happens with this Blinken meeting. What are your expectations? Anthony Blinken's going to meet his counterpart in China next week.
Well, the Chinese are going to view this as the United States groveling.
Yes.
Because remember, Blinken had to postpone his trip in the wake of the spy balloon incident. China has basically become even more belligerent after that. And, that showed the spy balloon showed the utter disrespect of the United States. Right after that, there's the Reuters reporting that the State Department delayed imposing measures on China that it had scheduled because it did not want to, quote unquote, increase tensions after the spy balloon incident. And so Beijing has given, the Blinken team has given Beijing even more incentives to be belligerent. You can't make this up. I mean,
I know.
It's just incomprehensible, Maria.
I know. It's really extraordinary. And you mentioned the spy balloon. That's after the police stations, after covering up COVID-19, after the theft of intellectual property, on and on. Gordon, thanks very much for weighing in. We appreciate your stance on all of this always. Gordon Chang joining us this morning, Gatestone Institute. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.